Don't ever doubt them. I'm breaking right now. We just had Canada fold. That comes on the heels of Mexico folding, which comes on the heels of Colombia folding. I think we're onto something here. In other words, the threat of 25% tariffs, they actually work. We're going to get into all of that right now. It is good to have you here. Just with all this breaking news, we also have the story going on over at CBS. CBS apparently just begging to settle this lawsuit. You see, they're working on this other deal with parent company Paramount, and maybe this could kind of get in the way, so they really want to settle. Well, staffers are not too happy about that because they just had to release the entire, folks, Kamala tape and transcript. That's going to be fun to see. Oh, and wow, this is who won for Best Country Album and Best Album. Cowboy Carter won Beyonce, and not everybody is too happy about this one. As you can imagine, some people feel that, you know what, Beyonce does not exactly represent, how shall we say, country music. And the album itself is not really that representative of country music. There's folk songs, there's Beatles tunes, there's some rap elements, and well, let's just point out the obvious, which is that Beyonce has certainly not made it her business to have a career in country music. We're going to get to all of this, plus Donald Trump's explosive comments on Zelensky, U.S. aid. Ilhan Omar really has herself tied in a knot over that. Welcome to the show. Good to have you here. CBS News expected to settle this lawsuit, begging to settle this lawsuit, and staffers are furious. So this news first came out just last week, but the new development is they just had to turn over the transcripts in that Kamala Harris interview. So they really want to settle this thing. It's in part because Paramount's in the middle of this other deal. Paramount is the parent company of CBS. And, you know, Donald Trump, he's not messing around. I mean, he is trying to sue these guys for $10 billion, which would be $2 billion more than parent company Paramount is actually even worth. And it has to do, you see, with this little clip that got leaked out. Some of you guys were asking me last week, well, how did you get your hands on that? I mean, it wasn't difficult. CBS, stupidly, really stupidly, broadcast the first version of this clip with Kamala Harris, in which the correspondent is interviewing her and asks her a simple question on Israel, which she cannot clearly answer. And then by the time they got from Face the Nation, where it originally aired, to 60 Minutes on Sunday night, the whole thing had been edited down so that she sounded like she was some kind of Rhodes Scholar. And Donald Trump's like, yeah, you know what that is? It's election interference. And I'm putting a $10 billion lawsuit on you for it. Here, take a look at the original clip.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Kind of different, don't you think? Just a little bit. Just a little bit. But, you know, this is what they had a history of doing. Don't forget, we can go back to Leslie Stahl when she was interviewing Donald Trump about that now infamous laptop, which we have since learned that the FBI was investigating at the time, the Hunter Biden laptop, the really disgusting laptop that nobody was allowed to report on because that was misinformation, false information. A new email coming out over the weekend related to that. I'm going to bring it to you. But first, watch Leslie Stahl. Okay, Leslie Stahl, 60 Minutes icon. She's been there, I don't know, like since I was born. Okay, here she is with Donald Trump saying, well, we can't report on that. We're 60 Minutes. And he's like, Leslie, this is real. I mean, if you did any reporting, you might actually figure.
You know, this is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
We can't put on things we can't verify.
Leslie.
You know what you told me a long time ago when I asked why you keep saying fake in the media?
Yeah.
You said to me, I say that because I need to discredit you, so that when you say negative things about me, no one will believe you.
I don't have to discredit you.
But that's what you told me.
You've discredited yourself.
You told me that.
Leslie, you've discredited yourself. When you say that you're not going to cover Biden, you're going to ask him what flavor ice cream he has, okay?
That's not
Instead
me.
of why did Hunter get $3.5 million from Moscow? Instead of why is an energy company paying your son $183,000 a month or whatever they're paying him, and he has no experience in energy, you discredit yourself. I don't have to discredit you.
So this story about Hunter and his laptop, some repair shop found it. The source is Steve Bannon and Rudy Giuliani.
I don't know anything about that. I just know it's a laptop, and they haven't.
And you're making this one of the hottest, most important issues in your rallies.
It's a very important issue to find out whether or not a man's corrupt who's running for president, who's accepted money from China and from Ukraine and from Russia.
All these
I think
things
that's
have
an
been
important
investigated and
It's incredible the way you can try and say this and sit there and look me in the eye and say it. He accepted money, his family, from Russia, from Ukraine, from China, and from other places. His brother, who didn't have experience, became a big builder in Iraq without experience. Take a look at what's going on, Leslie. And then you say that shouldn't be discussed.
I'm saying
it's the biggest scandal out there, Leslie, and you don't cover it.
Because it can't be verified.
You want to talk about insignificant things.
I'm telling you.
Of course it can be verified. Excuse me, they found the laptop. Leslie.
Can't be verified.
What can't be verified?
The laptop.
Why do you say?
I mean, unbelievable, right? She just sat there. She couldn't verify it, but it turns out New York Post verified it. She just, she's in bed with the 51X spooks, I guess. They were all singing their song and dance, and here's proof of it. This just came out. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. This is from John Brennan, dated Monday, October 19th, 2020. Letter to sign. It's from Mike Morrell. And he says, okay, Mike, add my name to the list. Good initiative. Thanks for asking me to sign on. This is after John... he had written, I guess, to him. This is from John to Mike. Mike had written to John, I should say, can I add your name to the list? We'll be adding Leon Panetta, Sue Gordon, Jay Johnson, George, Lisa Monaco, Mike Rogers today. I'm working on adding Dan Coates, the other Mike Rogers, and Tom Bossert. And lots of other IC career folk. And then this is really important. He said, trying to give the campaign, particularly during the debate on Thursday, a talking point to push back on Trump on this. So they lied. I mean, just flat out lied. Like, these people have absolutely no scruples. Isn't that a little bit gross? Unbelievable. I'm just looking at a super chat from Steve Frischman. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for your generosity. We can talk about that a little bit later. Letitia James, oh my goodness, she's standing in the way of anything Donald Trump wants to do. And you're right. Like, it's just, listen, you know what? The federal government has the power. Whether Letitia realizes that or not, Steve, you're right. The federal government has the power, and it's going to be a mess. But back to 60 Minutes, because they are in trouble, okay? They're going down. They're going to have to pay a massive amount of money. I don't know. The company's not really loaded. When I went to work there, and this wasn't that long ago, okay? Like, maybe I'm dating myself a little bit, but this was like 2004. They had rotary dial phones. They still had rotary dial phones. And then, like, you go into someone's office to do a call on a speakerphone, and it was like the old Charlie's Angels. Remember from the 1970s speakerphone? So, not to mention the offices themselves. I mean, this is like Class D space. It was an old milk company, I guess, factory that had been redone. So they're not necessarily flush with cash. Paramount has a little bit more. I mean, they could afford to broadcast the Grammys, right? We're going to get to that. And Beyonce's big win, but they don't, they want to move forward. They know that that's a dying business. 60 Minutes, like, who watches that anymore? I mean, you probably watch more 60 Minutes on this show because I show you clips than you ever see. I mean, it just doesn't exist. It's appointment television really is not a thing anymore. Maybe appointment YouTube, maybe appointment streaming, because this is live, it's spontaneous, I haven't edited anything, and I may just say anything. I've been known to. Kind of gets me in trouble now and then. Quick reminder, make sure you subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff, so that when I'm here every day. Hit the bell, and you'll really, really know. But the CBS staffers, they're furious, right? Because, we're journalists, and we have to safeguard our interview with Kamala Harris because, yeah, we probably absolutely did do all kinds of who knows what to slice and dice that thing and make her sound like she was some kind of PhD, which, you know, clearly she wasn't. And she couldn't really even speak articulately enough in a full sentence so much that they had to do this. They wouldn't have given the same, shall we say, opportunity or goodwill to Donald Trump. You know that, I know that. Producers, you know, the place is run by a bunch of old people that used to be hangovers from the Vietnam era. You think Dan Rather, right? You know, this is not the Walter Cronkite network anymore. But I'll tell you, even if this happens, they're not out of the woods because Brendan Carr over at the FCC, he means business. And all of these networks, we've talked about it on this show, they are in trouble. In fact, Brendan's using, if you would, he's using these lawsuits against them. That's amazing, right? He's like, okay, you, ABC, you just had to pay $16 million, $1 million to the lawyers, $15 million to Trump's library, and that's proof. You see, that's proof that you know that you did something wrong. In that particular case, they labeled Donald Trump a heinous term that, by the way, no judge had actually said. He had never been convicted of the things that they were accusing him of. And George Stephanopoulos, the guy who hosts the big signature weekend program there, Sundays, what is it, This Week, with George Stephanopoulos, a former Clinton guy, I should point out, he said this, even though his producers over and over and over again said, you can't say that. He did it anyway. And so Brendan's like, you know, maybe we don't really need to be giving the ABC affiliation to all the affiliates around the country because, you know, you guys, between Georgie Boy and Whoopi Goldberg, who's trying to play it really clean, because I think her days are somewhat numbered there, none of these guys are out of the woods. So Brendan is now going to have ammunition to go after CBS. And listen, you just can't be that flagrantly flying in the face of, disregarding truth. And that's what they did. Whether it be what happened with the laptop, whether it be what happened with Russia, whether it be just hating on Trump all the time. 99% of the coverage and Media Research Center has done this diligence to figure this one out. What they have concluded is that these networks are 99% negative on Donald Trump, 99% positive on the other side. So it's like, guys, don't pretend anymore, all right? We know exactly who you are, and what this is about. But CBS did get to broadcast the Grammys. The Grammys! Oh, well, that was interesting. I mean, we had all kinds of outfits, or I should say not outfits, because for some reason there was a complete lack of clothing. Yeah, I mean, like a lack of clothing. I'm going to show you something, and I'm going to tell you, we had to censor the heck out of it. It took poor Sal, one of my guys on my team, like half the day, because he had to censor out Kanye West's wife's rather, important parts because we can't show this. I don't want to show this. You never know who's going to scroll and, I don't know who's watching TV with you right now. So we censored this, but she showed up naked. I mean, she had some kind of little plastic thing over her, but she's out there on the red carpet at the Grammys naked. Dun-dun-dun. Okay, so sorry, guys, for those that wanted to see it. I'm sure it's out there somewhere else, but here she is, totally, utterly naked. What is wrong with this woman? What is wrong with Kanye West? What is wrong with the people that were like, okay, yeah, here you go. Here's the red carpet this way, lady. We just, we'll take a look. We'll take a peek. We'll snap photos. And then, of course, this went totally viral. So it was all over Twitter last night. It's like all I could see. I'm like, I don't really need to see this. Thank you very much. Granted, she has a fabulous physique. But this is bonkers. Okay, I don't know. Is she in competition with Kim Kardashian, who has that Skims line out? What is it called? Nude? Her Skims line? Like, this one just had to step it up. This one's like, okay, now I'm really going to be nude. She got kicked out of the Grammys. At least CBS had the good sense not to let her in. Of course, that would have really put them in trouble. Now, would it not? With the FCC and Brendan Carr, I mean, then it would have really been game over if they're starting to show naked people on TV. But why else was everybody else like okay with this? And why, importantly, is this poor woman okay with this? Is she some kind of hostage of Kanye West? I mean, does he have some kind of spell over her? He just wants to get clicks and clicks and clicks for Bianca? It's very, very strange. I mean, I don't know. I guess Lauren Sanchez, you get some competition, serious competition. I think that Bianca is, she's just out of your league, right? She's willing to show the whole Monty, shall we say. But she wasn't the only one. Like the whole program, I'm like, what's going on? Like, was there some kind of edict, like, let's not wear clothes this year? Is this how we're going to get back at Donald Trump? J-Lo. Okay, so she's on stage here. She's out there to present an award for the best Latin pop album. And I'm like, what is that? Did she forget to step into the dress? Is that like half the dress is down here and the rest is, I mean, come on. Here she is again. J-Lo. J-Lo, she went through that breakup with, what's his name? They were like Bennifer for a while. And then, of course, she's struggling because her gal didn't make it. Remember how much she loved Kamala Harris?
The next president of the United States, Kamala Harris.
Okay, so it must be trauma over that. That's why she is struggling now. That's why she's struggling, huh? J-Lo. I'm sorry, it's over. It's over with the hubby. It's over with Kamala Harris. And there's no reason to just take off your clothes because of it. There really isn't. There just really, really, really isn't. Carlos, thank you for your let me see where I was going to put up there. Carlos, thank you for the generosity. Can you explain to me, Carlos Rodriguez writes, everyone knows the New York Times has turned into a rag, therefore why does everyone keep citing it? It's an interesting question. I often I look at everything for my news, Carlos. I look at Financial Times, I look at Wall Street Journal, I look at everything. I even look at the Daily Beast, I look at Politico, I look at Bloomberg, I look at Reuters, I look at Breitbart, I look at, let's just say I read a lot of news. And your point on New York Times is not bad. It's actually quite good. I think for me anyway, myself, I want to be as informed as possible. So I have a tendency to go to every single news source that's out there because I want to be able to cut through the noise, and the New York Times is often, dare I say, a lot of noise. So J-Lo's half naked. That's what we learned from this. She may be going through some kind of trauma because Kamala didn't win, but she wasn't the only one. So there's this other little starlet out there called Sabrina Carpenter. Do you guys know Sabrina Carpenter? One of my producers is like, don't pick on Sabrina Carpenter. Like, I'm a huge Sabrina Carpenter fan. All the kids love Sabrina Carpenter. But apparently, according to this article in the Daily Mail, and I did not catch this on video, the Espresso songstress earned the award for the best pop vocal album for her LP Short and Sweet during the show. And she apparently stripped down on stage. That's in the headline. Now, I just see a nice strapless dress, so I don't know what she had on that she was stripping down, but there was a strip theme. Like, let's be honest. This one, Bianca, that you saw already, she had a fur coat on, and she turned her back to the camera, and she just let it go, dun-ta-da. And then if it wasn't, people half naked, it was people like this. This happens to be Jaden and Willow Smith. They're arriving at the Grammys, and wow, Willow's naked too. Like, there's just, I guess, like a swimsuit on underneath, and you got me on the hat. Jaden Smith had some weirdo hat on. So I think the bottom line that we're learning from this is that musicians like to be different. They like to look weird. They like to embrace that. And maybe they think that they're going to get some more attention mongers that they are. But a lot of people are upset over this one, and that would be Cowboy Carter. So Cowboy Carter is Beyonce's album. You might remember she performed at the big football game, right, on Netflix, and that was where she came out all dressed in white. There was a whole white theme. Everybody was like, what is this, like some kind of Diddy white party? And she did her songs there, and apparently everything was so successful that she not only won for Best Country Album, but she also won Best Album. Like, that was a big, big deal. MTV congratulating her. Cowboy Carter is the album, not just country album, but the album of the year. Apparently, Beyonce has like this history against country music. She feels that they've kind of shunned her in the past and they didn't accept her as an artist. Of course, that's not really how she has made her career. She really hasn't tried to be a country artist, but as soon as she does, she's going to win the Grammy for it. And this was amazing to me. So she's won like 35 Grammys. And so we started doing some diligence. And let me make sure I get this right, because do you know the Rolling Stones have only won 3? Yeah, 3. I mean, Rolling Stones are pretty good, right? And then I was like, wait, the Beatles only won 7? They only won 7 Grammys. And you have people like Judy Garland who won 2. But for some reason, Beyonce, because she won 2 more last night, has won 35 Grammys. And a lot of people are like, okay, well, they had to get it in the last moment because, you know, she really isn't sort of a country music star. And the album, again, just go back to the album, look at what's on the album. First of all, a lot of it wasn't original music. It wasn't written by her. She did a cover of a Dolly Parton song. She had Blackbird in there, which is a famous Beatles tune. And so it just really didn't feel authentic, dare I say, enough. But you know what? Like, apparently, you gotta strike while the iron's hot. And given where wokeness is going, you know, does she have as much time in the future to do this?
Yeah, I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you, because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason, because black people couldn't get into colleges, because women could not get into the colleges they wanted to go to. This is all women. Yeah. See, this is not black, Asian women. This is all women. Women were not invited to this party. It was a man's world, and we busted our asses to make sure that this was a person's world. So please stop using that phrase to talk about, because you don't understand what you're saying. You're saying about yourself that, you know, hey.
Blah, blah, blah. She's going on about how, you know, wokeness is everything and wokeness is why we're here and how important that is. And she's scolding Caroline Leavitt, who's the new press secretary. Of course, then Joy Behar has to double down and then says the only reason she got that job is because, let's face it, Trump thinks she's a 10. Yeah, she's like a 10. And I guess Joy, you know, I'm sorry, you're not. But, you know, and you probably never were. But let's not get catty about it. Let's be grown women and recognize, oh, she's a woman. Like, can we be happy for that? Well, anyway, this whole like woke thing, right? Like, it kind of overshadowed everything. And even for Beyonce, because a lot of people on Twitter are saying, oh, you know, she got this because it's the DEI award for country music, etc. Meanwhile, you know, you gotta like wonder about this. I'm wondering if even, dare I say, even the artists themselves are getting a little bit sick of the woke mentality. Trevor Noah was the guy that they hired for the Grammys to be the comedian. And I want you to see this woman who's a major, major rap star. Let me make sure I pronounce her name right. Doechii. She rolls her eyes, right? She rolls her eyes when Trevor's talking about immigration. And he's got this like kind of what he thinks is clever immigration joke. Just watch this carefully. It's pretty good.
Honoring the best in music as voted on by the 13,000 members of the Recording Academy and 20 million illegal immigrants. And tonight, no matter what
I know it's hard to hear.
History will be made. Some artists, like Sabrina Carpenter.
Exactly.
Let's do that again. You get it? You see what was going on there, right? You get it. So he's like, oh, voted on by all these Americans and some 20 million illegal immigrants. And she's like, are you kidding me?
Honoring the best in music as voted on by the 13,000 members.
There he is. He's saying the best.
And 20 million illegal immigrants.
And 20 million illegal immigrants. And look at her face. Doechie's like, are you kidding me? I mean, that's pretty good, right? Pretty good. Yeah, everybody's kind of had it with that. Hey, quick word from one of our great sponsors here on the show. Up to $15,000 right now in free silver if you purchase your gold with American Hartford Gold. 1-844-495-1115. You can text my name, Trish, to 65532. Listen, I'm watching the market today. By the way, I was watching the crypto markets overnight. What what 48 hours it's been, but last night was crazy in the crypto markets. And I said to everybody, gold's going to go up. It's like, once again, I go back to gold as my stability, if you would. That's what I like having in my portfolio for these crazy, crazy times. So if you also like to be able to sleep at night, I would recommend taking a look at gold. And when you do, call our friends over at American Heart for Gold. You can go to trishlovesgold.com, trishlovesgold.com today for more information. Again, trishlovesgold.com. How can you forget that, right? $15,000 in free silver with qualifying offers, 1-844-495-1115, or text Trish to 65532. So, tariffs work, it seems. But don't tell that to the Fox founder, one Rupert Murdoch and his editorial team over at the Wall Street Journal. Oh my goodness. Wall Street Journal flipping out over the weekend over these tariffs. I said all along, you know what? This is a very strong negotiating tool. And I'm going to tell you why. Because we export about $332 billion worth of stuff every year to Canada. We get a gigantic economy, okay? So we can handle that. With 332 is like nothing. It's 1% of our GDP. Okay, 1% of our economy we export over there. Just to keep it in perspective, if you think about the housing sector in the U.S., it's roughly 17% of GDP. So we can actually turn off all the stuff we're sending to Canada. I realize it's not going to be painless, but it's not going to kill us. It will kill Canada because you see, it's 15% of their economy, what they send to us. And then you look at the numbers over in Mexico, and they're sending stuff to us that equates to something like 18% of their economy. Again, this is 1% for us. So who's got the upper hand, do you think? Well, Donald Trump does, exactly. But again, don't tell that to anybody over at the Wall Street Journal or the founder of Fox News, Rupert Murdoch. I mean, Donald Trump had some choice words for him. But before we get to that, let me just tell you that the headline that just broke as we came to air, guess what? Canada's folded, okay? Mexico's folded. Colombia already folded. Canada's going to work with Donald Trump. They're going to put all this money into the border. That's what he's been asking for. And there's going to be more to come. But hear him.
We've disagreed before, and I'm sure they didn't have any idea what they were talking about, because already you see what's happening. Look at Colombia. Look at what happened with that. Everybody said that with Colombia it was going to be a disaster. In one hour, everything was settled. You know why? Tariffs. Without tariffs, they wouldn't have been the same way. They would not have treated me the way they treated me, which was extremely nicely. And I don't want to use countries. I don't want to use names, but tariffs are very powerful, both economically and in getting everything else you want. Tariffs for us, nobody can compete with us because we're the pot of gold. But if we don't keep winning and keep doing well, we won't be the pot of gold, and then tariffs won't be so good for us. But when you're the pot of gold, the tariffs are very good. They're very powerful, and they're going to make our country very rich again. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
No, he's totally right. So Trudeau just agreed to put $1.3 billion into the enforcement of the border because, you know what, we don't want the fentanyl coming, we don't want the illegals coming, we want better security there. And I look at this and I'm like, what? It took 24 hours? For goodness sakes, at best 48. He said, I'm going to put these into effect on the 1st of February. He did. And here we are on the 3rd of February. And guess what? They're punting, at least for a month. They're going to try and work this out. They agreed to a $1.3 billion border plan, reinforcing the border with new choppers, technology, and personnel, enhanced coordination with American partners, and increased resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. I mean, why couldn't anybody else do this? Really and truly. And, the markets were freaking out, as I said, the crypto markets over the weekend. And I said to a lot of people, look, it could be bad, but not that bad. Keep it in perspective, all right? They're not that important. As Donald Trump said, they really don't have anything that we want. And they have a lot of stuff that actually you could make here. So, they back and forth, 25%. Boy, was the Wall Street Journal, run by Fox News founder Rupert Murdoch. He was really mad. So they came out with the dumbest trade war. Fallout begins. And they went on and on and on. They even have a response today, you see, because the article came out and Donald Trump had a few things to say about it on Truth Social. In fact, he wrote, Will there be some pain? Yes, maybe, and maybe not. But we will make America great again, and it will be all worth it. Worth the price that must be paid. This was on Truth Social. So he went on to call them the tariff lobby. And you gotta ask yourself, really and truly, what is their agenda? They're just a bunch of globalists who think that you should just go to the lowest common denominator? I mean, can't you show a little teeth? If we have, as he likes to say, the pot of gold, we may not have it for long. Why don't you use whatever you have, your arsenal, which in this case is actually tariffs, to get what you need accomplished? So they wrote that, this was the dumbest trade war in history. And he's like, thank you very much, you tariff lobby. They said, Mr. Trump's tariffs are already roiling North American energy markets, which are highly integrated. The president implicitly recognized the risk by hitting Canada's energy exports to the U.S. with a lower 10% tariff that will still hurt Midwestern refiners that rely on Canadian oil, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? It's not happening, okay? It's not happening. And I would also just point out there are other places to get the oil, and I know some people don't like it, but guess what? Rick Grenell just got 6 American hostages out of Venezuela. Venezuela just agreed at their expense to take back 300,000 illegal criminals that are Venezuela. I don't know if they're criminals, but we can have that debate later, because if you're here illegally, that makes you kind of in that criminal status. But 300,000 Venezuelans he's going to take back to Venezuela. And guess what? They're sitting on that giant oil field. I've been to it. It's called Orinoco. It puts Saudi Arabia to shame. So you just put a straw in the ground, and boom, you got oil. So I would just say you have some cards in your deck to play if you're Donald Trump, and he absolutely knows it. Wall Street Journal doesn't get it. Rupert Murdoch apparently doesn't get it. And the left most definitely never got it, because instead we were just paying out money over and over and over again to everybody we could think of and their cousin. I mean, right now, everybody wants to know what happened to the, nearly $300 billion that we sent over to Ukraine, and Zelensky can't actually really and truly tell us? Oh, Jay, this is so nice of you. Thank you again for your generosity. Jay writes, Trish, I loved you on Fox, but you're stronger than ever now. Stay strong and keep exposing the truth. Jay, I love this medium. I love this medium because I don't have to read a prompter. I was pretty good at prompter reading, I'll tell you. I actually am probably one of the best, because you didn't always know I was reading a prompter. I hated it because everything was scripted. It's like, go to soundbite now. Here's the graphic, dun, 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 dun. And I always wrote all of my scripts. The only thing I didn't write, this is some insight into my personality, I couldn't write teases because I just wanted to tell everybody everything that was happening right away. The whole tease thing where you're supposed to get people to stay through commercial wasn't necessarily my expertise. So I had a great guy that used to do that, but everything else was written by me. And it takes a lot of time to write it, and then you're stuck, you have to have management approve it, and then you're stuck reading it, as opposed to now I'm here and I just talk, and I have a lot of information that I want to share with you and that I can share with you in this really spontaneous way. So I appreciate that, Jay. I really do. That means a lot. Thank you. And I'm going to stay strong. I stay strong, and I do expose the truth. And sometimes it gets me in a lot of trouble. I've lost my job over it, and I don't care. I really don't care, because I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about being fair. And I am passionate about delivering something of value to all of you. So you guys that aren't subscribed, please make sure you do subscribe to the show. I'm here live every single day. Make sure you hit the bell, because what time I come on live has yet to be determined. I'm live every day, generally between the hours of 1 and 5, right? There you go. So it is good. Thank you so much. One other thing I'll just give a shout out for, I was just talking about the markets and how there was a lot of volatility today, but not that bad. The markets actually, in light of everything, actually didn't do that terribly. I'm just going to move the Trish Regan show right over here so that you can see this. This is 76 Research. It's my company that I started with a dear friend, Rob Horton. You can see our portfolio has just been killing it. And the reason for this is we're trying to cut through all this noise. It's just, I'm a big believer in staying away from all the noise. If you listen to the Cassandras there, you would have been selling off your whole portfolio, right? That's the first thing you would have done this weekend, because all hell's breaking loose. Listen, I'm the one who said it's nuts during March 2020 for the market to be selling off 2,000 points. It's just not justifiable. They're going to use this as a political football. And so they're going to run it wall-to-wall coverage on all of the networks that they can. And so as an investor, you need to be smart about it. You need to think through it. You need to know what's real and what's not. Meanwhile, speaking of DEI, speaking of all this craziness, I got another story I want to tell you about. I want to tell you about this Captain America because it looks like Captain America might be in a little jeopardy. But before I do this, and that was not intended to be a tease, I want to tell you about Zelensky because Zelensky's under a lot of fire. There was a soundbite that came out over the weekend. I'm talking about the president of Ukraine. And as you well know, we've been spending a lot of money in Ukraine, and it was thought that we would go in there and easily help them win this war and defend themselves against Putin, except it didn't turn out to be that way, and it just turned year after year after year after year, and a lot of dollars. And a lot of those dollars have gone missing. I mean, we found out that the head of the Defense Department for Ukraine was kind of siphoning stuff off the top, so they got rid of him, and he went off to Dubai. And then they put in another guy, like the deputy. And well, it turns out he was siphoning stuff off too. And so you start to ask, how much siphoning off really goes on? Zelensky was asked, like, where is the money? And he had a really poor answer for it. He's speaking in Ukrainian, so I'm going to turn his volume down a little bit so that you can hear me. So he did this interview, and he's like, look, I've heard this, that the Ukraine got $177 billion from America. I think Donald Trump said $300 billion, but anyway, he's saying $177 billion to be precise. That's the exact figure, which it sounded like it was voted on or supported by Congress. And then he's like, as president of a warring country, I'm going to tell you we received just over 75. Okay, so he's putting that number somewhat in dispute. That is of 100 billion of these 177 or 200 billion. I don't know. He can't seem to know which. Let's go with 177 billion or 200 billion. And then he starts to say, but they can't really account for this money because, you know, they didn't necessarily buy just weapons with it. No, they bought all kinds of other things, including additional transport. They had training. They had all these other things on the peripheral that it doesn't have anything to do with weapons. So you can't just draw a line and say it went from here to here. There were humanitarian programs. There were social, you know, they had to be that social media transgender person. Remember that one? But when they say, you know, where's all this money? He writes or says, I don't know where all the money is. And that's kind of shocking to me. Let's go back and play that again. He said, I don't know where all the money is. And I'm concerned by that. I don't know where all the money is. Okay, so Zelensky doesn't know where it is. Not a great thing to say. Well, Donald Trump had something to say in response. He's like, look, we're giving all this stuff. What are they giving us? He knows what he wants. In return, listen.
One of the problems we have with the Russia-Ukraine situation is that we want to see some equalization because we're in for close to $300 billion and they're in for $200 billion less. Why are they in for less? Because Biden never asked them for money. He never said, you got to pay. He never did. All he did is hand out money. So we're talking with them right now, and we're actually working some deals right now. So we have some guarantees and some other things to keep that whole situation to go, really going. I mean, going. We're telling Ukraine they have very valuable rare earth. We want what we put up to go in terms of a guarantee. We want a guarantee. We're handing them money hand over fist. We're giving them equipment. European is not keeping up with us. They should equalize. And look, we have an ocean in between. They don't. It's more important for them than it is for us. But they're way below us in terms of money. And they should be paying at least equal. They should really be paying much more than us, but let's say equal to us, and they're billions and billions of dollars below. So we're looking to do a deal with Ukraine where they're going to secure what we're giving them with their rare earth and other things.
Wow. I mean, look, this is why America wanted a business person there. Am I right? Because it's just give away. I mean, maybe Joe Biden was the business person for his family, so to speak. I mean, I wonder. I'd be curious to see all that. I have a feeling we're going to find out because Kash Patel is going to be in the seat as head of the FBI. You get Pam Bondi. You're going to have a good team. You're going to have a good team. You get John Radcliffe there now as head of CIA, and they're going to find out exactly where all this money was going. Not to mention what Doge is doing and Elon Musk and Trump saying, wait a second, what's going on with U.S. aid? U.S. aid. Why are we just giving out all this money to every Tom, Dick, and Harry all around the world? What is this about? Is it really furthering our interest? Do we get anything in it for return? Like, what kind of deal is this? To just give away your hard-earned taxpayer dollars. Well, Ilhan Omar has a response to that. We absolutely need U.S. aid because, well, without it, she wouldn't be here.
I am exceptionally upset about U.S. aid. I lived in a refugee camp for 4 years as a child surviving civil war. It is the essential programs that U.S. aid provided that kept my family and I fed and safe. It is the resources that so many people around the world rely on. And it is our soft power. Oftentimes, people interact with our country through the military. That does not create love for us, and it certainly does not keep us safe. When the world interacts with Americans through programs that provide essential need, they get to see the heart and compassion of the American people. That's right. Yes. Come on now. When someone is struggling because their bridge broke down, when U.S. aid comes in and helps fix that bridge, that creates goodwill for the American people. Yes, yes. When people are dying of malaria and there is medication through U.S. aid, that creates goodwill for the American people. When people are fleeing and they need just a little bit of food and U.S. aid is there to provide that, that creates goodwill for the American people.
Of course, China does it a little bit differently. China will go in and give you some quote-unquote aid. And in exchange, if you can't pay your bills, they're going to take over that port. They're going to take over that resource. They're going to take over those mines. The U.S., what, we're just doing this for goodwill? Donald Trump's like, I don't think so. We're not really going to do this for goodwill. We're going to do it if it helps us. And you know what? We want something in return. And so this is a whole new approach, right? Like it's mind-boggling to see this all playing out in real time. And then you have these people like she is really, really, really worked up, incredibly worked up that there is this possibility that U.S. aid just goes away. And in fact, it's become such an issue that apparently Marco Rubio's had to speak out of it. And he's like, oh, no, wait, I control U.S. aid as the head of Secretary of State. Let me see if I can play you this. It may just be audio, but it's worth hearing here. He's trying to clarify here. He is the acting director of USAID, so it's not necessarily going to go away overnight, but that in fact, here, I'll just read it to you. So he said, I said very clearly when I, during my confirmation hearing, that every dollar we spent and every program we fund will be aligned with the national interests of the United States. And USAID has a history of ignoring that. And deciding that there's somehow a global charity separate from the national interest. These are taxpayer dollars. And I am so very troubled by these reports that they have been unwilling to cooperate with people who are asking simple questions about what these programs do, who gets the money, who are the contractors, and who is funded. I mean, okay. And that sort of level of insubordination makes it impossible to conduct a sort of mature and serious review that I think our foreign policy writ large should have. Boom. Okay? So no more handouts, no more gravy trains. I don't know what this is going to mean for you, Hunter Biden. Oh, that must be why Daddy's getting the gig with CAA, Creative Artist Management Hollywood Agency. It's going to somehow sell the Biden brand, much like they did Obama. Because apparently you can't sell it on the foreign circuit just anymore. You really wonder just exactly what was going on and who was getting what. Do you not? I mean, these people, they're all in bed together, and that is not good. That is not good for us. It is not good for taxpayers, and it's not good for our future, given how much debt we have. We just can't afford it. Like, to be perfectly simple and perfectly honest, we simply cannot afford it. So Biden, well, given that Hunter doesn't have the Ukraine gig anymore, he's got himself a new gig of sorts. This is Biden, who, by the way, is out and about in his retirement, sounding just as bad as ever. Oh, poor guy. There he is, waving at the windows. This is when he was leaving, of course, the office. Let's see, he had something. He said, "Which way do I go?" Literally, there he is with Jill. Which way do I go? This was on his departure at the inauguration. Which way do I go? It's like the story of his life, right? Which way do I go? Well, apparently he's going to the West Coast, to Hollywood, baby. Oh, Joe Biden, here we are with the story here. Let's take a look. Joe Biden, 82 years old. Inks deal with powerhouse agency CAA as ex-president potentially eyes Hollywood ventures. Like, are you kidding me? I mean, it was bad enough when Obama did it, but like, what, he's going to come up with Hollywood ventures? He can't do anything. He doesn't even know which way to exit the stage. So I guess this is Dr. Jill Biden and Hunter Biden. They're going to be greenlighting Hollywood projects. Hey, they're going to make a living, right? I'm sorry, but it tells you once again how in bed Hollywood and the Democrat Party really are. And that's pretty darn concerning. I mean, we know that Hunter was making all kinds of money. What was it, $83,000 a month times 2, because his other employee was getting the same deal for that Ukrainian Burisma board position. He wouldn't have gotten that without Pabst, right? Pabst was in charge of Ukraine policy at the time. And what did Pabst do? Exactly what Burisma, the company that Hunter worked for, wanted him to do. In that case, they were trying to get rid of the prosecutor that was sort of looking into things that might be a little bit sketchy. It's a now basically defunct energy company. It was a little bit sketchy, and the prosecutor should have been looking into it. But as soon as you had Hunter there, all he had to do was make a phone call to Daddy. Daddy flew over, and he said to them, and by the way, this is on tape, he told everybody at the CFR, Richard Haas was interviewing him in New York, he said, well, I got over there and I said, if that guy isn't fired by the time I'm leaving, you're not getting the money. In other words, you're not getting that U.S. aid money. You're not getting anything from us. Well, what do you think all this is about, really? Like, we weren't born yesterday. So Biden now inks deal with CAA, the oldest probably, I'm guessing, person to be inking a deal. I guess it's for Hunter's future. Who knows? But these people over in Hollywood, I think their days are numbered. Like, I think they had to make sure that they Beyonce got her big award for Country Album of the Year. They had to have that happen. They put in Anthony Mackie as Captain America, and Anthony Mackie in the Disney Marvel franchise Captain America is now actually in jeopardy of not actually getting future gigs, because it looks like there's going to be some kind of conservative boycott of the movie after he said this. In Italy, by the way, on the foreign stage, he was asked about what's great about America and Captain America, and here's the response.
For me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations. Like, it's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity, someone who is trustworthy and dependable. It's kind of... This is kind of like an aspect of a dream coming true. When I was a kid, all of us as actors, I believe, want to get back to that day before someone told you no. When you look out your door and you see a 5-year-old kid with a stick and he's slaying dragons to save the princess in the tower, that kid really believes there are dragons out there. That stick is really a sword and he's really trying to save that princess. And then one day somebody told him, no. There are no dragons, that's not a sword, and that princess is not there. And all of his little dreams were dashed. So, you know, as an actor, I feel like our job is to get back to the day where we see that dragon and we slay that dragon to save that princess. And that's kind of what this movie was for me.
Okay, so Captain America doesn't really think this movie represents America. That's the headline. And now people are like, well, I don't need to go see Captain America, thank you very much. And Disney, go, you know what, yourself. Oh gosh, I sound like Elon. Didn't Elon say that to Bob, the CEO? The CEO of Disney. Bob, go yourself. This is what conservatives are saying now to Bob, the CEO of Disney, which is producing this Marvel movie. Yeah, we're not going to watch. We're not going to watch. So there's all this backlash because you know what? As the Media Research Center says, this is DEI Captain America. Imagine Captain America says it represents a lot of things, and America is not one of them, despite the fact that, well, you know, Captain America is actually supposed to represent good, triumphing over evil. It takes place, its origins are back in the World War II time zone. And you know what? I keep saying this. If it weren't for the United States of America, we'd all be speaking German. Okay, so don't give me that nonsense about America's not great. Captain America is about the freedom, the brilliance, the resilience of America. And so now it looks like he may not continue to have a job. Check this out. There's an interview with Esquire, and it looks as though Mackey's estimate, he was planning on playing Captain America for a whole decade, Brave New World being the new movie, and then he figured he could score new ones like Avengers Doomsday, Avengers Secret Wars, and like he would have a gig for a while, at least a decade. And now, apparently, according to Esquire, he also is just expressing hope for another film as Captain America after Brave New World, because he recognizes that Marvel Studios might want to wait and see how the movie did. They might want to see how the movie performs before they contract him for any other big roles. And I just kind of have a feeling that he might have done himself some damage. Again, though, this is Hollywood. Will they actually pay attention to the box office sales? Will they actually care? This is the same team that literally assembled the Avengers to help out Kamala Harris on October 31st, 2024.
Hi, Avengers.
What?
Thanks
Hey,
for
Scarlett.
jumping on the call.
Whoa. I think you mean assembling. I said assembling.
Don, that's pretty good.
No, they thought it was funny.
Scarlett, it is our pleasure to come together and to get the vote out this election. Come on.
Yeah, how can we be of service?
Well, how about we start with what our voting plans are going to be, who we're going to bring to the polls with us, that sort of thing.
I think Kamala Harris needs a catchphrase.
Ooh, yes, definitely.
I show you that just because you need to think through what's really going on. I mean, how sick and disgusting is that you have a group of actors in a major Disney movie, an iconic movie, that then feels that they're going to go out and do a public service announcement for voting for Kamala Harris. I wonder what they were paid. I wonder what Disney was paid for that. And it shows you how embedded Hollywood is with the Democrat Party. So much so that Joe's new gig is going to be also with Hollywood. They're hoping that he can get enough. I mean, if Meghan Markle can get one, why not Joe Biden? Watch, he's going to have a podcast. Oh, that'll be fun to watch, you guys. Like, Joe, can you get it out? Can you? Maybe he'll give Hunter a podcast. I don't know. But it really is quite telling. Another quick shout out to 76 Research. If you guys are worried about the market, I get it. But let me just tell you, you know what? We have been through this. We have, Rob and I. We have been through this for a long time. We have worked, me in the financial media, he on Wall Street managing billions of dollars. And so I just think it's really important to keep that perspective and don't, look, I worked at CNBC. I know exactly what they do. So like when the market's trading off and the market, by the way, is actually tends to be like, up, down. You have to be smarter than that. You just have to be smarter than that. You have to be smarter than some Bloomberg reporter or CNBC reporter that wants to sell you this doom and gloom because, one, that's what's happening, like if you're in the red, and two, they hate Trump. They just hate Trump. So we have 3 portfolios: American Resilience, Inflation Protection. We have Income Builder. You can see all the stocks up. Go look at that at 76research.com today. Go look at those model portfolios. I can't stress enough how important it is for you to be invested in the future right now, because there's a lot of good stuff heading our way. I mean, think about it. We're getting rid of the CRAP, are we not? I mean, they're looking at USAID and saying, hang on, wait a second. They're looking at everything. And I'm telling you, tariffs, Mexico, Canada, Colombia, everybody's like turning around saying, okay, what do you want? Nicolas Maduro's like, okay, your hostages, yep, here's 6 of them right here. Oh, we'll take 300,000 back, sure. I mean, this is so revolutionary, and it's happening in a lightning speed, and it's so transparent. They're telling you everything as it's happening in real time. It's so different. Like, reporters can't even keep up. And it's really cool. Jay has another question. Thank you for the generosity, Jay. Do I think that Cash, RFK, Pam, and Tulsi will be chosen for their desired? I do. I actually do. I think they're all going to get through. Tulsi's been a little bit trickier, but I love her. I love her. Trickier because, you know, there's a lot of deep state type folks that really don't like her. And I tried to do sort of my own due diligence behind the scenes. And what I keep hearing is, oh, well, she's just not on our side. And I'm like, she's not on our side. Like, why? Because she dared to like say, hey, maybe we should think about some other things. Maybe we just shouldn't just be dishing out money to Ukraine. Nobody can actually give me anything at all concrete as to why they don't like her. It's just sort of like, oh no, she's not one of us. And I think that, you know, when you talk about diversity, et cetera, it's not the color of someone's skin, it's their diversity of thought. And she brings a different perspective, a perspective that actually I think is echoed by a lot of the people around Trump right now. So I think that she should get it. Whether or not that ultimately happens, we'll see. I do, you know, like, and I have a tendency to check out the poly market odds because they tend to be right. And I think Kash is going to get it. I think RFK is going to get it. Pam, no problem. I think Tulsi, it's going to be trickier, but I think when push comes to shove, Tulsi is going to get this too. And I think she's the right person for the job because she's going to cause all of us to think about these things in new ways. And this is what this administration is about. Look, they've been there, done that. They've already had the experience of having to be on defense for 4 years. Donald Trump came in, it was all new. And now he's like, wait a second, I've been on the beach for a while. I've had 4 years to think about this. I got a good team. I got all kinds of people that have been sort of going through these scenarios and thinking about what we can do. Think about Stephen Miller, for example, who's a constitutional law scholar, and he's been devoting the last 4 years to figuring out just exactly what the executive powers really are. So they're coming in, and they're coming in really strong. So while the Republicans are really strong, the Democrats are looking like some kind of SNL skit. This one caught my eye over the weekend. I mean, really kind of funny. Here we go.
Racism has not gone away since 20 people of African descent came upon these shores at Jamestown, Virginia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, that's, you know, they're going right back to the DEI. They're not going to give up on that. But it gets even better because when I say SNL skit, and we can go back to her, I'm talking SNL skit. Just wait for it, okay? Trust me on this one. Watch this.
And we'll begin with the opening statements. Each candidate will have 30 seconds, and we'll start with Dr. Quintessa Hathaway.
Good evening, everyone. It is my desire to be the next DNC chair, and I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days. You fight on, you fight on, you fight on, you fight on. When your government is doing you wrong, you fight on, oh, you fight on.
She's a serious contender, all right? And then you heard her platform. It's 16-9.
Racism has not gone away since 20 people of African descent came upon these shores at Jamestown, Virginia in 1619. And it's going to require us to think and behave in a new way. It is systemic. It is structural. When it comes to addressing diversity, equity, inclusion, access, and belonging, that is for all people of the United States, that must come across the voting line as well. This is everyone's America. Our story has a new form of glory that must come to our shores as well.
So that's who they're putting forward. All right, so you guys keep doubling down on that. You do that all you want. I think the American people have spoken. No, they care about some pretty basic things like inflation, which, by the way, is going to be hard. Don't get me wrong. And, tariffs, like they threaten it. But you know what? We're probably not going to get tariffs. I'm just saying. Because if these countries are smart, they're going to do exactly what he wants. I mean, come on, Canada. You got an ice Barbie too, don't you? Let's see her. Let's see her out there arresting people on the border. Like our own Kristi Noem is out there, 7:30 a.m., the day after getting confirmed as the head of the Department of Homeland Security. And what is she doing? She's on ICE raids. So we need the same kind of commitment from Canada. We need the same kind of commitment from Mexico. And as for the DNC and the people they're putting forward, the best and their brightest, no, Donald Trump, he's like, I don't care about color. I don't care about race. I don't care about your gender. I don't care about any of that stuff. All I want are the best people.
We need the smartest people. We need both psychologically smart and just brilliant, period. And we are going to have them in our control towers. We are going to have the most competent people in the country in our control towers, not people that are there for any other reason.
I just say this. It's refreshing. Indeed, refreshing. Gold trading way up today. A lot of people were worried about whether or not they could get their gold out of London. Did you see that? They're worried about a tariff on that. So you saw that gold was getting moved out of. This was a story that was in the FT, by the way, the Financial Times. I told you I read everything. So anyway, up to $15,000 in free silver for those of you that buy gold with our friends over at American Hartford Gold. You can go to trishlovesgold.com. You know I do. It helped me sleep last night. It really did, in all seriousness, even though I was still buying crypto as the market went down, which actually turned out to be a pretty good play. Anyway, I encourage you, 1-844-495-1115. Text Trish, my name, to 65532. Text Trish to 65532. Again, up to $15,000 in free silver. Go to trishlovesgold.com. Get all the information for yourself. Don't forget 76 Research. Listen, 76 Research, where you can get any of those model portfolios. You get 10 to 15 stocks in each and every one of them. This is your chance to actually look out for yourself. I mean that. I know it's hard. And people say, listen, it's hard to save money. And I get it. I completely get it. But you can't count on Uncle Sam. You need to do this for numero uno. It's good to have you guys. I'm looking at all your comments here. And I think that, dare I say, one Ilhan Omar kind of struck a chord, right? Yeah, you guys are not loving that. Not loving that. And I don't think you love that all this money is going to Ukraine with no real accountability for it either. It's good to see so many familiar faces here. Billy Rice, welcome back. Of course, our good friend, our good friend Leslie J. Thank you for all your generosity today. We appreciate it. Billy Rice, good to see you. Alexandra as well. Franz, Gary. I mean, listen. Oh, and of course, peace of my mind. I will do that. Peace of my mind, he's suggesting, or she is suggesting, that I show you a comparison with the Dow, S&P, and the NASDAQ, because I will do that. And I'm actually going to get after Rob to make that chart for you, because let me just tell you, we were texting earlier today and I was like, what are the numbers? What are the numbers? I bug him about the numbers every month. And actually they were really good. I think, let me quote him directly here, because we were up 6% versus the S&P. And that's typically what you do, like versus the S&P, but we could look at the NASDAQ, we could look at the Dow as well. And I like seeing that, right? I do like seeing that. I can't find my text right now, but peace of my mind, you're right. See, I get business advice from you guys too. We're a big community here on the Trish Regan Show. If you have not, make sure that you subscribe to the show, that you hit the bell. I love having so many here, and I'm just going to reiterate what I've told you before, and that's that we are sort of single-handedly together growing all of this. I will tell you, I started this about 1.5 years ago, and I started it with like no followers. Leslie would tell me when my microphone wasn't working, like she's been here from the beginning, and we just kept doing this every single day. And you guys kept coming back, and I look at these numbers now, and we're up over 560,000, and I'm just blown away. And it shows you the power of truth. It really does, because this is so organic. This is no extra marketing. This is just me and you. And hopefully, you know, more and more people coming back because they want something real and they like this format. I know I like this format. I find it incredibly freeing after, 20 years in network news, and this is just a whole other ballgame. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Make sure that you please do subscribe to the show. It means a lot. Peace of my mind pointing out 564,000 subs and counting. It's just amazing, really, isn't it? I think we hit 500,000 on Christmas. I will see you back here live on the program tomorrow. In the meantime, lots more content coming your way. Thanks for being here.